So without further ado, Renee, come on up on stage. So right here, we can just check it's on. There you go.
Hello, hello, hello. Hi, ladies. Hi, gentlemen.
All right. Okay, so fill us in. I know you're led to this place where you had to speak up for what you want. You're beautiful, you're entertainment, people assume that, and you're easygoing, actually. And so, of course, the natural proclivity with people, with you, I'm sure, is around, she'll just do what we want her to do. So, how did you deal with that? And what came out of it?
Well, Alin, I am now a communication coach, a speaker, and an author, but before becoming a coach, I was a professional actress on Broadway and film and TV for over 17 years. And the truth is, my highest of highs and my lowest of lows throughout my life have all been tied to communication. In 2013, I was playing the role of Frankie Valli's wife in Jersey Boys on Broadway, Mary Delgado. And one Sunday matinee, I walk out on stage, and 10 rows back, staring back at me, was Clint Eastwood. We came to find out that he was going to be directing the film version of Jersey Boys, and about a week later, he started calling many people in from our cast to audition. And they put out a breakdown for the role of Mary Delgado, which means that they were looking for a Mary, the role I was playing for the film. My agent and I tried to get me an appointment, but for some reason they wouldn't see me. But they gave me an audition for one of the smaller roles, one of the angels who sings My Boyfriend's Back. The day of the audition, I'm in the room with the casting director and we're having a great conversation. And then he says to me, Renee, would you like to sing the song first or read the scene? And all of a sudden, I heard this quiet little voice within say, you have to do this, it feels too right. And before I was even consciously aware, I looked at the casting director in the eyes and I said, you know, Jeff, I was really hoping to come in and read for the role of Mary Delgado. And he looks at me and he goes, I was just thinking the same thing. And I was like, amazing, great, okay, great. So I do the audition that day and I leave there feeling so happy. For no other reason but the fact that I created an opportunity for myself. That's all I ever wanted, was to have the chance to audition. A few weeks go by, I get a call from my agent. You're Mary Delgado in the movie Clint Eastwood Loves You. And I was like, what? Like literally out-of-body experience, one of the most surreal moments of my life. Cut to the first day of filming. Picture me, like many of you, when you have those first encounters with something in life, the butterflies begin. I had never been on a film set before, a TV set before. It was like jumping off of a cliff. But again, I heard that quiet voice within say to me, Renee, you know what you're doing. Clint Eastwood hired you, trust in your talent and leap. And I walked in there the first day and everyone on the team said, Renee, welcome! And I immediately felt this love, and then the legend himself, Clint Eastwood, walks up to my right side and says, you know, I went around to all the different casts, but nobody was in your class. And then you came in and put yourself on tape and it was the icing on the cake. I was like, now picture me, ladies, you'll get this. My perfectly done makeup that I didn't do, it was done for me. I couldn't cry because I couldn't mess it up. So I was like, oh my goodness, so I'm holding back the tears. That day and every day that followed, every time I was on the film set, filming a scene, I would sit and eat lunch with Clint Eastwood. Why? Because I'm a student of life, right? I wanted to absorb the fact that I was in the presence of greatness. I asked him every question that you could possibly imagine. Clint, what was it like when you started acting? Clint, where are you from? Clint, what does this camera shot mean? And I just absorbed and absorbed. And so much of being what I call a master communicator is being a complete listener. And listening, not to respond, but listening to hear. And that's what I did. About a month into the project, I'm sitting again eating lunch because that's my favorite thing to do, eat. We discussed this. I'm Italian, I love eating. And it's Clint, myself, and the producer of the film, and they begin talking about how Clint knew he wanted me for the role when he saw me perform on Broadway. Now let me remind you all, that was weeks and weeks before I ever got an audition, and that audition wasn't even for Mary. So imagine my surprise. I dropped my fork. I said, do you guys want to hear a funny story? I actually didn't even have an audition for Mary. The only reason I got to read the scenes is because I opened up my big mouth in the room and asked. And the two of them look at each other and they're like, wait, what do you mean? We requested you. We said we want the girl from the Broadway show to come in for this audition for Mary. I came to find out that day that there was a middle person, casting associate, juggling a few films at once, human error, and just dropped the ball. And I want you all to understand this. I love sharing this story, especially now as a communication coach. Because at first listen, you can think, oh, this is a story of this girl's big break, but it's so much more than that. It's a representation of the power of communication and how when we have the confidence to speak clearly from our heart and authentically, the door to opportunities is wide open. And if I didn't speak up that day in the room, I would have been moving about my life today, never knowing that Clint Eastwood was waiting for me to walk through the door. And I would have been sitting in the movie theater watching Jersey Boys thinking, man, I wish I got to do that, instead of being on the screen in Jersey Boys. So I just hope you take this with you today and think about your own lives. How many times have you let an opportunity pass you by because you didn't communicate? You didn't want to rock the boat. You didn't want to tell that person that you were the right one for the job, or tell that person how you loved them. And then the opportunity passed and you're like, oh, I want to kick myself. Dominique spoke so much today about wasting opportunities, wasting time, wasting energy. This is what happens when we don't effectively and confidently communicate. So that's what I love helping individuals with.
Wow. Give her a round of applause. Also, what a lesson on dealing with middlemen. Yeah. Do you guys know about the middleman complex? Do you guys know about it? Okay. So I deal with, because of events, I deal with a lot of people. Thousands of people a week at one point. And I would find that the newbies, like sort of green people, were so happy, eager to start, willing to put 1,000%, finish the job regardless, right? You meet people like Amelia, who I've known for 7 years. Practically similar attitudes, get it done, whatever it takes. One of the most pleasant people to work with. Middle people, pain in the ass. So if you find yourself dealing with a pain in the ass person, you must just mentally identify it like, oh, this is probably a middle management person, and give them grace and take yourself out of their frequency and stay in your voice, right? So what do you do now? What do you have? What's your thing? What matters to you right now?
Yeah, what matters to me is communication, and I say this because everything in our lives starts with communication. And when we learn to master this skill, we become limitless. Like, think about anything in our lives. Everything is tied to communication. And in this day and age, I now have a book, so that is really big in my life right now.
What is it called? Tell everybody.
It is called Becoming a Master Communicator. And the overall theme of this book is, here's this word again, Amelia, balancing new school technology with what I call old school simplicity, because we're in this world of digital technology and it's so easy to become a lazy communicator, right? Oh, you know what, I'm not gonna call Lynn, I'm just gonna text her real quick. And then what happens is, we don't have that effective communication because now I'm just reading words and I'm attaching assumptions to what I think she means, and then I'm sitting back and being like, oh, what's her problem? Oh, well, you know what, fine. And then I text her back from a place of assumption without ever asking, hey, Alin, when you text me that, were you being serious? Or, no, Renee, it was just a joke. And if I asked her and used that old school simplicity way of communicating, picking up the phone or meeting in person, I would have known that, and we would have cut all of the crap in half. We wouldn't have wasted the time stressing in assumption, and I call that sometimes assumption animosity, and that's animosity from assuming what one thinks to be true. So that is what I'm helping, especially business professionals with, helping to communicate with confidence both on camera and off, because this is foundational for all of our lives.
What are the clues that the women here in the crowd can ask themselves, like, am I in fact a good communicator? Like, what are some things that you use for yourself to evaluate, like, okay, I think I'm doing this well, or I need some lessons?
Great question. Okay, here's two things, ladies. All right, get ready. Bold and highlight this. Step one, and this may feel counterintuitive, but it's spot on. Step one of being a master communicator, is having that communication within yourself. Waking up every day, and instead of opening your eyes, rolling over, picking up the phone, and stepping into someone else's lives through scrolling, and oh my gosh, I can't believe Jessica's doing that. Oh, see, my business isn't growing like that. What are we doing? Stepping outside of ourselves into someone else's life. Instead, leave the phone aside and ask yourself this one question. How am I feeling? Take 5 minutes, write about it. Don't put it on your electronic device, but write about it. And then number two, if you are texting or emailing, and this is both personally and professionally, if there is one iota of a thought or instinctual feeling that I feel like there's some resistance here or a miscommunication happening, that is your sign to either pick up the phone or walk to your boss's office and say, hey, can we take 5 minutes? Because that's how we get right to the heart of a communication matter instead of wasting the time and energy guessing.
So what I'm hearing is, if you don't have a clear communication line with self, it cannot extend outside of you.
High five, girl.
All right.
That's it. That's it. That's it. And it seems so simple, but we forget because we're all moving fast, right? Research shows our minds have begun to speed up because of our attention spans. We're so used to being like, oh, notification. A million tabs open on the computer that we forget to take time for ourselves. So yes, step one, communicate with self.
How can the ladies find you?
You can find me, well actually, there's a misspelling of my name, but that's okay. It's Renée Marino, M-A-R-I-N-O, and you can find me on Instagram at I am Renée Marino. So it's M-A-R-I-N-O.
Give her a round of applause. Thank you.
Anytime. Thank you.